Welcome to Marketing State of Mind, the podcast where clarity meets visibility. I'm Lynn Colepaugh, strategist and systems whisperer, here to unpack the mindset behind your marketing moves. Whether you're launching, scaling, or starting over, let's find the choices that actually feel like you. Welcome back to A Marketing State of Mind, and today's guest is Dr. Christiane Schroeter, professor, business and wellness coach, best-selling author, and host of the Happy, Healthy Hustle podcast. She has taught more than 10,000 students, guided entrepreneurs through reinvention, and built her own purpose-driven business while raising a family. In this episode, we'll explore her Petite Practice Method, the growth mindset shifts that fuel sustainable success, and why wellness isn't just nice to have, it's the foundation of it all. So let's dive in. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here, Lynn. I'm really excited to share some of my insights, and audience, this is going to be a really fun one.
Oh, those are the best. I mean, some of my favorite guests are ones where I don't know what they're going to say. And it becomes like, I really feel like we're just sitting, having a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. And I get to pick your brain, like really. I mean, you do podcasts, so you know too.
Yeah.
There you go. I've got my coffee too. It's super fun, but that's a whole other discussion. So I want to learn more about you. I want you to tell me about you, and what you do and how you got there. So let our listeners in.
Well, firstly, I live in California right now. And while that might sound like super fun, you can hear from my accent, I was not born here. I was actually born in Germany and grew up there, and then always felt like there's a little bit something else out there, something more just waiting for me. And we might all have this deep feeling like, So I went and explored, studying abroad, and studied in the United States, fell immediately in love with the whole country, studied actually in the Midwest, earned my master's and my PhD in the Midwest. Then I worked for a couple of years at the university in the South, and then moved to California, which I really felt as soon as I stepped off the plane. You're going to love this, Lynn. I was like, home. And when I came to interview and I flew back, you're going to love this story too. I actually started crying, and the airline attendant, she came over and she said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "I don't want to go back."
Oh my
Because I
gosh.
was flying back to my current job at that time, which was in the South, which was amazing too. It was just not where I felt home. And I think we all have that deep down feeling to where your mind is just telling you this is where you belong. So now I'm here teaching at the university, marketing, innovation, entrepreneurship. I also wrote books because I never really found the perfect book for my classroom teaching. And so now I have 3 books out: How to Master Your Goals, Discover Your Superpower, and my Petite Practice Planner, because all my teaching and coaching evolves around this amazing method we will talk a little bit about. But otherwise, of course, for fun, love reading. I have 2 amazing teenage daughters. I like going for walks at the beach with my husband. And that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
I mean, but that's really awesome. And yes, we will get to the Petite Practice because I do want to find out more about it.
Mhm.
But I mean, you made your career connecting all these things that it's taken kind of the industry a long time to catch up to it, which is connecting business and wellness and, preventing that fatigue and overload. So how did you first pull this all together? I mean, you're in school, you're learning, you're moving towards your doctorate, and then you become a teacher. So how did it all come together for you?
I think if I wouldn't have prioritized wellness along the way, I would have probably given up all along. I think that
Okay.
in order to be resilient in a very stringent program like a doctorate degree or advanced education, or even in a very challenging job, you have to take care of yourself first. And I talked about the airline earlier, but that's really always what they say, right? You take care of yourself and then you can take care of others. So for me to succeed in that PhD program, I really felt I had to take a step back from just sitting at the desk and trying to write the most amazing dissertation, which is the book that you write while you earn your doctorate degree, right? It's called dissertation. I had to actually take care of myself and really figure out what's a good routine for me to write a 150-page dissertation. How do I do this while I take care of myself? That's really when I first really started thinking about this Petite Practice Method, and when I started using more wellness in my life.
Well, I really like that you drew it back to the airplane, because that's one of the things they tell you. So if they, in case of an accident, put your your air mask on first, and then help those around you. And if you can be stable and strong, then you are there to better support the people that are important to you. And yeah, that does make sense, and I like how you tied it in, and then you talked again about the petite practice, so that as part of and the way you mentioned it, it evolved as a method and how kinda someone can make real progress, but can you explain more and help me understand it?
Yeah, so think about a big project that you tackle in your life. It could be a goal from your bucket list. You always wanted to do this thing. So for me, it was earning that PhD, getting my doctorate degree, involved writing a 150-page dissertation. And keep in mind, of course, written in a foreign language, right? English was not my first language. So I knew that was super intimidating, scary, and I was actually, trying to think in my head, well, I'm German. I know I'm a very structured thinker. I should make a method and a plan to tackle this big 150-page dissertation. So what I ended up doing was I started first with our most precious resource, which is time, right? Time is really the most precious resource in our life. And if you think about this, we all have 24 hours. We all can look at calendars and enter things in calendars. But how do we get it done, right? So I took the end date when I wanted to graduate was in December. And I already told my parents we're going to buy some flight tickets to make it real. So I
Wow.
bought my parents' flight tickets from Germany to come to my graduation party. So there were some personal personal accountability there too. Then I started reverse engineering back from that graduation date to the present date. And I think it was in about May, April, May, sometime like in springtime. And I calculated out, all right, so here are the corner dates. There's graduation. This is the date that I have to defend my dissertation, which is presenting it. This is when I propose the topic to my committee. So there are these corner dates that you get from the university. I put them all on my calendar. And then I started thinking, all right, so to meet these dates, these are requirements. How many pages do I need to write per day? Turned out 2 pages a day.
Okay. Okay, that's
Manageable.
very manageable.
Manageable. And all of a sudden, this big, scary, I would say intimidating goal of writing this big dissertation became small. And I'm personally passionate very, very much about the French culture. That's what I named petite for French in small. And then a practice, because I wouldn't say that we immediately know how to write a dissertation. There's no like online course that teaches you that. You just kind of keep practicing. And every time you sit down and you write 2 more pages, you become better. And it's basically creating a habit out of doing it consistently, being determined to finish, and then at the same time, still doing it on those days when everybody else would maybe say, you know what, today I'm going to take a break, but still trying and maybe like writing at least something down because it creates momentum and it actually fuels your motivation to keep going.
2 things you said, because I was thinking, "Oh my gosh," so Thanksgiving and, holidays, and you're like, "There are 2 pages that need to come out." But that is it, the mindset, the knowing that you're gonna before the Halloween trick-or-treating with your kids, or probably no kids at this time, but but before celebrating anything, it
Mhm,
was okay, I need to get in that mindset of doing these 2 pages. I've made that commitment to myself. And I love as well where you're talking about momentum, because 'cause I'm a big fan of just put one foot in front of the other, get going, because momentum will keep you moving to that point where, much like you said, you didn't really think you could get there, or you thought it was going to be uphill both ways. So I love how that petite method works. That's really something. So when I look at that, and I look at you, going to university, doing your doctorate, discovering this petite method, and kind of honing it and crafting it, it seems like it's all like it just kind of unfolds in front of
mhm,
you. But that wouldn't have been it, because you probably would have been like, "Is this is this right?" So
mhm.
what shaped your early thinking about putting it together, or even marketing it and going, other people could use this? Like, how did you have that conversation with yourself?
I think it was because I do a lot of different things, right? So I'm a professor. I'm also a coach. I'm an author. I'm a podcaster. I'm a mom, a wife. And so there are so many petite activities that I do. If you think about it, my whole life is put together of these different hats and roles that I take on. That Lynn, the same question kept popping up over and over again that people asked, how do you do it all? How do you do that? And I started thinking, I was like, well, it's not a mystery. I just do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of that. And I just keep it up consistently. And that's how momentum builds and that's how results are created. It doesn't require like a magic formula because everybody else can look up how do I write a book or how do I start a podcast, right? It's not mystery. But the act of doing it and keeping up, releasing episodes, inviting guests, launching special episodes, I mean, all that is really what you need to do. And I think that is really where the petite practice comes in. Just keep chipping away at it, small steps at a time to get those big results.
I really love that. It's also, I'm a fan of Japanese culture, and when I look at it, there's a lot of that in it, of just the small things every day, the little things, and if it's only 10 minutes, it's still 10 minutes more than doing 0. So, yes, you have my heart with that. So, here's a kind of on a flip side of it. So, everything you're talking about makes sense. So, what is a marketing belief or something that you find works that might surprise other people? Like, your whole method is a different approach, and I give that an homage to that. But what about a marketing method of getting your message out there that you believe in, that other people might be like, really?
Mhm.
That works for you?
That's a really great question. I mean, what you could even do is like every day you create a story on social media, right? So
Mhm.
you're promoting yourself in small little bites. You don't have to write like a full content reel and film it and spend a lot of time on this, but just 5, 10 minutes doing a story, very unpolished, very authentic, but just letting people in on your journey. Let me share you an example of how this actually worked for me. So on August 16th, I presented my TEDx talk. And the whole journey leading up to the TEDx talk, I shared on Instagram. I basically shared the days when I practiced, the days when I tried to memorize and it didn't work, The days when maybe I bought an outfit that I was trying to wear on stage, the days when I was debating of how I'm going to have my hair done, all those little details, those petite little practices, every day. I was like, you know what? Today I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Lynn, you know how many people reached out to me that they weren't even interested in those individual things. They just wanted to know, how did the talk go? Because I'm just like so inspired by you sharing your journey with us that I'm just like cheering for you. I just want that you do great because it makes me understand how important that is, but how much work goes into it. You don't just show up on a stage and present something. There's just so many small little details that go into it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so, guess what, Lynn? People let me know how much they cared, how much they wanted more, that I'm writing a book about this now. It's called The Runway to the Red Dot. So I listened to my customer feedback and the whole journey leading up to this. I wasn't immediately planning on writing the book. I was basically just marketing the fact that I'm giving a talk, but then they appreciated it so much, the raw, messy, unfiltered truth about getting ready for a keynote talk on stage in front of 1,000 people, that I thought, you know what? I do need to write that book now. I owe that to my audience. I'm feeling there's a real need for it. And I think that's the essence of marketing is you fulfill customer wants and needs. And that means you need to listen what they need and what they want. And then you can really do the best job in satisfying the wants and needs.
I love that story. And there's a deeper reason, and it's twofold. So I'll explain it. I work a lot in the arts industry with musicians and creators. And I try to tell them, well, talk about being on tour, talk
Yeah.
about where you ate, talk about, the early mornings, the late nights, the little pieces in between, you just being on stage, because it's not the glossy rock and roll show, it's the little pieces. And the pushback I get, it's like, "Oh my gosh." They're like, "Nobody wants to see my day. No, we don't wanna take the gloss off the show. We wanna present ourselves in this really, like, perfect setting." But my argument is always, but people don't know, and they wanna peek behind the curtain, and you talking about giving that peek behind the curtain and everyone connecting with you, it's like, you are now, I'm gonna take the link to this podcast and I'll send it to like 20 people,
Yep.
because I'll be like, this is why you do it. And it allows people to connect with you in a way that they don't, like you said, they don't know what goes into that TED Talk. And just even picking out something to wear. It's not about looking great, but you also have to be able to move on stage and feel comfortable and feel good about yourself. So yes, I absolutely love that. And just to pivot quick, because I was thinking about arts and music, and then that always brings up AI and how that's coming into the arts industry. And with what you're doing, I mean, being a professor, offering these courses and doing podcasting and all the things, has AI, automation, or other tech in the industry shifted how you've done your marketing in the last year? Like, are you seeing yourself really leaning into different ways of marketing yourself?
Oh my gosh, such a brilliant question. It was actually the name of my last podcast episode is called Is Using ChatGPT Cheating? Because I get that question from my students. They're like, well, we can use ChatGPT in the classroom. And I'm like, yeah, please do. Actually, I have some prompts for you, and I even created a GPT for you. Of course, we cannot deny that the immediate reaction is sometimes confusion is like, she wants us to use AI. And so check in that podcast episode because it is quite funny. I'm comparing ChatGPT to a treadmill. So I would love for you to tune in. It's one of my specialties, Lynn, to come up with fun little analogies and make things very relatable,
I
right?
love it. I love it.
Relatable. Um, and of course, to answer your question, AI is completely changing how you market yourself because I think that, picking up on your earlier comment about the behind the scenes, that people start to appreciate those moments even more. The
Mm.
unfiltered behind the scene messiness, where you're maybe sharing that song that you're kind of debating on writing, but you're not entirely sure, and you're asking your audience for feedback. That is just you. And people love that because they think, oh, the reel or the post might have been written by ChatGPT. I don't know what filters she used for that. But that story there, that's just her talking right now and asking me a question in a way that I actually want to respond because I want to have some input in this. So I think you kind of need to look at it at a two-way street. On one way, remember time, most precious resource, try to use it to become more efficient. But at the same time, because so many people are using it and we sometimes blurs the line between what's fake and what's real, also figure out how you can show up even more authentic and real. So that's your advantage right there.
I'm seeing that too. People are really gravitating to the pieces that are much like you talked about the TED Talk and in your last podcast. The rawness, the realness, the humanness where, the pivot as soon as image generation and chat GPT came on, it was like, let's make everything AI. And now the pendulum has swung and people are I don't know if that's real, so I just wanna see a real person, so absolutely love that. So, we're getting near the end, and I have, one, last question. So, if you could give yourself one piece of advice to your past self
Mhm.
about marketing or just your trajectory, what would it be?
I think I would have probably organized my notes even a little bit more to start earlier with the book writing because I had notes here and there and everywhere. And I think that it's important to get into the habit of writing things down, whether you're journaling, whether you're writing motivational sticky notes and putting them around your computer, whether you're writing slides and you're sharing them with your students or when you're teaching, coaching, whatever. But I just wish, I would tell myself, use one system and just stick to that so it becomes like the complete compository of all your experiences, stories, the ups and downs, and it's like nearly like a living and breathing document. I should have done that. And now looking back, we're always smarter, and there's so much technology, of course, that happened since then. But that's really what I would do.
Oh, I like that. I like that. So then while we're kind of concluding the podcast now, what is next for you and how can people find you and find out more about your petite practice and to work with you?
Yeah, so I have a couple of ways to find me. One is I actually have um, a little gift if you sign up to be the first one to check out my TEDx talk, right? So get on the list. You're the first one to be notified. I will send it directly to your inbox. I'm actually sharing my teaser ebook with you, which merges my Runway to the Red Dot book and Step into Your Voice book, which creates more confidence in public speaking. So once you sign up, you get that PDF of my teaser book. And then, of course, when the TEDx talk is released, you will get that immediately as well. And then you can also tap into your own superpower with my superpower quiz. And both of these callouts are on my website at drchristiane.com. It's written out, doctor, and then my first name, Christiane. And I'm sure you can also find the links in the show notes. But I would love for you to be among the first ones and maybe even share a little bit of feedback about my books that I'm writing. Because as I mentioned, I love that initial feedback. I love the feedback as I'm working on it. And of course, maybe there is something I can include that would really address your wants and needs, marketing like.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm going to be the first one to sign up because I get to sign up. So it'll be for the second person because I'm going to be the first. But
Right.
this this has been awesome. Thank you so much. I love your perspective. I love how grounded you are, and I just love how you have these amazing things you've done, but acknowledge that they were all little pieces and that it was more about the structure and the strategy rather than I have 24 hours to write a dissertation.
Yeah.
You took it out. So I love that. Thank you. So Christiana, thank you for joining us and sharing this story from petite practices to growth mindsets to the power of wellness. You've given me and you've given everyone inspiration and tools to rethink how we think about burning out. So to learn more, as you mentioned, go to drchristiana.com and that'll be in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode of A Marketing State of Mind, subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. And until next time, keep building with clarity and care. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Marketing State of Mind. If this sparks something, hit subscribe and share it with someone navigating visibility too. Want to work together or see how I help vision-driven brands get clear and seen? Head to cyberprarmy.com or connect with me on LinkedIn, Lynn Colepaugh. Until next time, sit in the clarity and remember, visibility isn't about shouting. It's about saying the right thing in the right state of mind.